Good evening, everybody. If you could come in and find a seat, there are plenty of seats here for anybody who's standing. My name is Janice Bedane, and I am the president of the League of Women Voters of Western Nevada County. And I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight and supporting our forum. Can I ask how many of you have been to some of our forums previous to this? Oh, quite a few of you. Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for returning. Before we start the forum, which will start at 7 o'clock, we do give a short presentation on the new method of voting for Nevada County, known as the Voters' Choice Act. I am up here with Brian Snyder from Freed.
Hello, everybody.
Center for Independent Living. And Freed and the League of Women Voters, as well as the Sierra Fund and the Tahoe Truckee Family Resource Center have joined in a coalition together to support the work of the Elections Office in educating our community about voters' choice. And we have, and I should say Brian has really produced a short video that we premiered last time. So for those of you who have seen this presentation already, thank you, bear with us. You're seeing it in a few guises. We put it out last time. It was the premiere. We've done some editing on it, and so this is actually what we're going to be putting out into the community. We're going to show this to you at 6 minutes long, and then we'll take some questions, and we'd like to find out from you if you feel as though we've covered everything that one might need to know. So let's roll that, and then we'll take questions.
Hello, good people of Nevada County. Due to the Voters' Choice Act, we have some big changes coming to Nevada County elections in 2018.
We'll start it again.
How you vote. Hello, good people of Nevada County. Due to the Voters' Choice Act, we have some big changes coming to Nevada County elections in 2018. Those changes include when, where, and how you vote. They also include accessibility for
older adults,
People with disabilities,
personas que hablan español y otros idiomas.
all registered voters will receive their ballot in the mail weeks before the election. You have 3 choices of how to vote. First, you can vote by mail. You can mail your completed ballot as soon as you receive it. Your next choice is to drop off your ballot at a designated county drop box. Drop your completed ballot off at a secure and clearly marked drop box that will be located in accessible locations throughout Nevada County. Your third choice is to go to any vote center and vote in person. These vote centers will resemble a traditional polling place but will offer voters more options.
For example, people that are blind, like myself, can use an accessible voting machine at any vote center in Nevada County. Now, these accessible voting machines have screen reading technology in both English and
En español.
people with low vision may also request an accessible ballot from the Nevada County Elections Office. Now, all you have to do is request an accessible ballot. They will email you the ballot. You can complete it on your computer or print it out and complete it that way. After you're done, mail it back via U.S. mail or drop it out at any vote center. The choice is yours. And if you have any questions regarding accessible voting, please call area code 530-265-1298. That's 530-265-1298.
Y cada centro de votación tendrá boletas en diferentes idiomas. Y si tiene alguna pregunta, puede llamar al secretario del Estado al 1-800-232-VOTA o al 1-800-232-8682.
Well, call me old-fashioned, but I like the idea of meeting up with my fellow citizens at one of the local vote centers when I vote. Kind of gives me the feeling of celebrating the democratic process. Anna, tell me where some of these local vote centers are in Nevada County and how many days they're open. And I probably wouldn't mind hearing where those drop box locations are as well.
Absolutely, Gene. In Grass Valley, there's a vote center open for 4 days that's located at the Gold Miners Inn, Room E at 121 Bank Street. Also open for 4 days is the vote center located at the Best Western Gold Country Inn Conference Room at 1012 Sutton Way. A Dropbox is located in Grass Valley and open during standard business hours and is located at the SPD Market at 129 West McKnight Way. Another Dropbox in Grass Valley is also open during business hours and is located at the Save Mart at 12054 Nevada City Highway.
What about the boat centers in Penn Valley?
In Penn Valley, open for 4 days, is the boat center at the Penn Valley Fire Protection District Station 43 on 10513 Spencerville Road. The Penn Valley Dropbox location is at the Holiday Market at 11324 Pleasant Valley Road.
Hey, what's happening in Nevada City?
In Nevada City, we have a vote center open for 11 days at the Nevada County Elections Office located at 950 Maidu Avenue, Suite 210. There is also a 24-hour Dropbox in the parking lot of the Eric Rood Administrative Center at 950 Maidu Avenue.
What about South County, Anna? You can't forget about South County.
Easy, Gene. In South County, there is a 4-day vote center at the Higgins Lions Community Center at 22490 East Hacienda Drive in Grass Valley. The Dropbox location is at the Holiday Market on 10952 Comby Road, Unit 12 in Auburn.
¿Y qué pasa en Truckee?
And finally, Truckee. Open for 11 days is the Vote Center at Town Hall Truckee in the East Wing Conference Room on 10183 Truckee Airport Road. Open for 4 days is the Vote Center at the Truckee Family Resource Center located at 11695 Donner Pass Road. The 24-hour Dropbox location is at the Truckee Town Hall at 10183 Truckee Airport Road as well. And finally, the last Dropbox is at the Save Mart at 11399 Deerfield Drive.
Dang it, I forgot to register to vote.
No worries, Gene. With same-day voter registration, you can register to vote and vote all at the same day at any one of Nevada County's vote centers.
Es la ley del voto flexible.
Those are the big changes to elections in 2018.
Learn more at voterschoice.sos.ca.gov or visit the Nevada County Elections Office at mynevadacounty.com/2320/voters-choice-act.
As Justin Dart Jr. stated, vote as if your life depends on it, because it does.
Las elecciones que haga hoy crearán los Estados Unidos del mañana.
So yes, these are all of our coalition members right here. And as I say, Brian has a, Brian has a,
It's getting violent with me.
yeah, he has a background in theater and production, so he put that all together, and we had a lot of fun doing it. So this is what we're going to be promoting out there to help people understand what it means to move into the new way of voting. And in addition to that, you will be receiving information from the elections office prior to receiving your ballot, which will be dropped on May the 7th. So you're going to have from May the 7th until June the 5th to be able to mail in your ballots or bring them to a drop-off center, a vote center or a drop box. And then you'll also get some more information with your ballot. So you are going to be getting a whole lot of information, but we even have more information for you.
Yeah, we do. Everything you saw in the video, we also have materials, like here's a bookmark which gives you the basic materials on that information. And we also have a postcard which has all the vote centers and drop-off locations, so that's useful. And there's also more information on the table as well. So please stop by there on your way out if you're interested in that information, or if you want to, give it to others. The other thing I've noticed is a lot of people still haven't heard about the Voters' Choice Act. So if you're, out and about, and you're talking to your friends or families or coworkers, say, hey, I heard about the Voters' Choice Act, just kind of start an informal discussion, see what happens. Might get heated, it might be fun, I don't know. But in any case, just all the information is there, and if anybody has any questions, please raise your hand. I can't see it, but she'll be, yeah.
Any questions? Did you feel as though we sort of got the message across in that PSA? It was understandable? Yeah, thanks. Good.
So no questions?
Yeah, no questions. The Secretary of State's office, oh, excuse me, okay, go ahead. The ballots are being mailed on May the 7th, so you should have them within a couple days past that. And if you don't have it, then you need to call the elections office. Okay, thanks. We got a lot of the resources from the Secretary of State's office as well as the elections office, so yes. Yes, you can. That's right. You can.
Yeah, if just as being recorded, so just so you know, yeah, she was just saying that if basically you can call and see if it was received. Thank you. Yes, yeah.
Was there another question over here? Yes. Oh. Is Teal here? Teal is here?
Oh, what was the question again?
The question is whether or not that she had heard that it's possible that the ballots are actually not going to be mailed until the 16th. Did you hear that in the meeting
No,
today?
I didn't.
Yeah, we haven't heard that.
Yeah. But like if there's any question, just call the elections office or go to the Secretary of State's website and find out the information.
Okay, thank you. Let's move along so that we can get started. I have just a minute to say thank you so much again to our audience. Thank you especially to the media. Appreciate you coming out every week very much. Thank you to our candidates tonight, Hillary Hodge and Dan Miller. The candidates are really, they're on a sort of a grueling path. There are a lot of forums out there. A lot of organizations are having forums for all of these candidates. So bravo to them for getting out there all the time. I do want to say that if you appreciate the work of the League of Women Voters, we would love your support. You can become a member, whether you are a male or a female, you can become a member. We have several men on our board, as well as in our membership. We do good work, and it really shows up at this time of an election cycle. And we have jobs that are very small to jobs that are very big. But if you would like to work with us, we welcome you. And we have a lot of information about that out on the table right there. And I also want to just mention that we are throwing ourselves a fundraiser. It's a big party at the Golden Era. And it's on May the 7th, actually, because we're celebrating the dropping of the ballots. So we're going to celebrate there. There's no cover charge, but there is a silent auction, and we will ask for donations. And it's just going to be fun. And it's a 1920s party, and dress up, and it's from 5 to 8 on a Monday. You know, what else do you have to do on a Monday night? So I would like to introduce Jennifer Granger right now. Jennifer Granger is a League of Women Voters member. She's a local attorney, and she will be moderating tonight.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank Janice Bedane and Ben Avancino, there he is over there, for putting together this forum tonight for the League of Women Voters. First of all, I'll go over the evening's ground rules for the sake of the audience and our candidates. Candidates, why don't you guys come on up now? Without further ado, we have Hillary Hodge and Dan Miller, who are running for District 3, Nevada County Board of Supervisors. Okay, so please take a moment to make sure your cell phones are off. We request that no videos be taken during the forum. NCTV is broadcasting live, and we'll have a full video available in a few days. The stream is available both on Comcast and Sudden Link Channel 17 and Nevada County TV .org. Also, Elizabeth Ballesteros Kane is translating the forum into Spanish in real time. The translation will be laid on the NCTV video as a service to our Spanish-speaking voters. Okay, so this evening we're presenting the candidates vying for District 3. Oh, and KVMR is also broadcasting live presently. Okay, so we have Dan Miller, the incumbent, and the challenger, Hillary Hodge. We flipped a coin earlier before the beginning of the proceedings to determine who would answer the questions first. And Dan Miller will be giving the opening statement first, followed by Hillary, and then we'll alternate the answering of the questions as we go through. Okay, so the way this works are audience questions are to be printed on cards. We have league members with cards to be passed out and pens, and we encourage audience members to print neatly, if possible, questions on the cards. So those cards will be, the questions will be will be posed to the speakers, first by the media, and then alternating with an audience question, and we'll go back and forth through the evening. All the questions will come forward and be sorted by other members who will make sure that the questions aren't repeated. So there'll be a slight screening process, not to screen out inappropriate questions, but more just to make sure that the questions are, different questions are asked each round. Okay, so raise your hand when you'd like a card or you're ready to submit a question. If you think you might like to ask a question, please get a card now if you don't already have one. Ask questions for all candidates to answer and refrain from asking personal questions, please. Okay, let's see. Oh, and to help our screeners, please make the questions brief and, if possible, legible. Okay, so in addition to the audience questions, we have a media panel tonight who will also pose questions. So first, we have Paul Emery from KVMR. Then we have, oh, and another important ground rule, you all, is that we ask that everyone hold their applause until the end of the evening. Okay, so we're asking that no one, that everyone refrain from applause and verbal comments like hoorays or boos or any of that. Okay, so first we have Paul Emery, KVMR. Then we have Alan Riquelme from the Union, Chris Gilbert from KNCO, and Pascal with UBNet. Okay, so candidates will have 2 minutes apiece for opening and closing, and 1.5 minutes to answer questions. We'll alternate the order in answering questions. Let's see. Oh, and candidates, just a reminder, please don't interrupt each other, and the candidates will have the individual candidate will have their 1.5 minutes time, and please refrain from interrupting. And then there's also a 1 minute rebuttal. If you'd like to rebut, just raise your hand. Okay, and the timers here will ensure that you stay within your allotted time. So we have the 30-second card and the time's up card. So please, once your time's up card, please finish your sentence, but try and keep it brief. Okay. Audience, again, we ask that you hold your applause until the end of the forum to allow the candidates as much time as possible to express their views on the issues. Please refrain from outbursts. Please don't cheer, boo, hiss, stomp, or anything of that sort. We're providing a non-partisan setting for undecided voters to hear all positions, so any demonstrations of support or opposition will be considered out of order. Okay. So, at the end of the evening, we will thank our audience with our applause. We will adjourn at or before 8:30. Okay. So now it's time to meet the District 3 supervisors. Again, Dan Miller, the incumbent, Hillary Hodge, the challenger. And so let's get started. Okay, so the first question will be a media question.
No, the first thing will be an open.
Oh, I'm sorry. Getting ahead of myself. Opening statements, and Dan, you're first.
Okay. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this forum on. Certainly, this is a great opportunity for the community as a whole to listen to both of the candidates. Good evening. I'm Nevada County District 3 Supervisor Dan Miller. There are a number of things that set me apart from my opponent. Nonpartisan politics is on that list. Every local government elected and appointed office in Nevada County is nonpartisan, be it the Board of Supervisors, the Grass Valley City Council, the Nevada Joint Union High School District Board of Trustees, or the Planning Commission. I have brought that mindset to the board. I don't believe there is room in local government for elected or appointed officials to engage in partisan politics because it is divisive, unfair to our residents, and halts intelligent debate. When on the Grass Valley City Council, we were always a mixed group of political views. Yet we always left our political leanings at home, and for that reason, we got along and we got things done. My opponent announced on her YouTube video, "I will bring a progressive majority to Nevada County." That is a clear indication she is not of a nonpartisan mindset. Another issue that sets us apart is cannabis. We need to protect our neighborhoods, so I don't believe that outdoor cannabis cultivation should be permitted in our residential neighborhoods that are zoned R1, R2, R3, or residential ag. My opponent stated Tuesday night that she believes everyone should be able to grow cannabis in their backyard. Not much neighborhood protection there. Finally, I have just received the endorsement of the Professional Firefighters Union 3800 and the Grass Valley Police Officers Association. Why? Because they know I understand their issues. I've worked with them for a long time because of my years in local government, and I've always supported their needs. They know that I have their back and understand their challenges, their issues, their stress, and the pressures they are under. My opponent doesn't understand our public safety departments. She has never worked with them because she has no local government experience.
Thank you, Dan. Hillary?
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. I'm Hillary Hodge. I'm an unapologetic progressive candidate for this community. And progressive isn't partisan. It's about human decency. I've been a resident of District 3 in Nevada County for nearly a decade. I love this community with all my heart. So much so that I convinced my mom to move up here and share our home with my family. I'm a sixth-generation Northern Californian. My family moved out west in the 1850s to begin homesteading in the newly established Golden State. Northern California is my home. It is my pride. It is my joy. I'm the most qualified candidate to be our District 3 supervisor because of my proven record. I have the experience, the relationships, and the resume of accomplishments to steer Nevada County in the right direction. I know what I'm doing, and I will fight for Nevada County. I have been working with lawmakers in Sacramento since I was a student at UC Davis. I have been influencing legislation on issues of student rights and women's rights since my early 20s. As an executive board member of the California Democratic Party's Rural Caucus, I work regularly with legislators on issues of affordable housing, on water, on jobs, on rural broadband, and so much more. I'm offering Nevada County a fresh perspective. This is not a retirement level job. We need someone who is going to fight for Nevada County's fair share. We need someone who will write grants and work for funding. We need someone who will do their homework and ensure Nevada County's future. I'm Hillary Hodge, and as supervisor, I will fight for Nevada County. I care about our future.
Thank you, Hillary.
And I hope
Time's
you'll
up.
vote for me. Thank you.
Sorry. Got to be strict here. Okay. So Paul Emery with KVMR, you have the first media question, please.
Thank you. Okay. in my view, the elected supervisors have a dismal record providing leadership in enacting creative solutions to our housing crisis. We live in a community, a county, and cities as well, that young people who were born and raised here, went to school here, cannot afford to live in their own town unless they put a tent up in their parents' backyard, which does happen, by the way. So I'm going to ask this question. It's a little detailed. If elected supervisor, will you be a leading advocate for well, let me go through this first. Okay. There was an article in the Union, I think it came out yesterday, from Mel and Julie Marshall. They had about 6 different specific proposals for easing some of the problems with housing. And one of them was, so I'm asking you, would you, as a supervisor, allow year-round living in an RV that is parked on your property? Also, another suggestion they had, would you offer pre-approved building plans that the county offered a few years ago? Another one is Title 25. Would you support the reenactment and the promotion of Title 25, which was part of our plans at one time and somehow has disappeared? Also, would you allow people to live in yurts in their backyards? I had personal experience with that, with somebody who lived in a yurt in my backyard for 14 years, made a nice home for them, and that's another. These are kind of just different options. Would you support tiny houses, and would you support new options in septic systems that would allow people to have more versatility? Now, my question is, would you provide leadership for proposals such as this? And I'm talking about leadership, so we can get some alternative housing up at the earliest possible time.
Okay, Hillary, you go first on this one.
Thank you. Yeah, the short answer is yes. So yes to year-round RV living if the RV is a member of the family, sitting on a property where it's properly zoned. I think that's completely fair. The pre-approved building plans was actually a really help in streamlining people who wanted to create accessory dwelling units. That was really important, and we need to reenact that. Title 25 was championed by Supervisor Dardrick. I think that that's something that we need to take another look at. I think it's a really important element that we're now missing in our community, especially for people who want to build. Yurts and tiny houses are, we need to look at the appropriate building codes. We need to make sure that nobody is taken advantage of in housing. I feel like there is a fine line between the ability to house people and the ability to house people in proper homes that allow them to thrive. So the last question that you had about septic systems, that's actually the low-hanging fruit, and that's something that I would love to champion. So our accessory dwelling units are the most available pieces of housing legislation that we can actually have in our community. And if we can streamline the septic system and use a gray water system, that would make it much more affordable. So I'm for all of that.
Thank you, Hillary. Dan?
Yeah, as the answer to the question, yes, I would. And housing has always been an issue in Nevada County, and certainly that hasn't changed over the years. Really, the lack of financing options has always been a problem. As far as year-round living in an RV on private property, no, I don't agree with that. I think there are septic system issues. I think environmental health. Obviously, if you talk to Amy Arani, will say the same thing. Living year-round in an RV is not the proper use of an RV. It's a recreational vehicle. It's not a permanent house. So no, I would not agree with that. However, we did make an exception for short-term for agricultural workers in ag land. So we do allow a certain amount right now. As far as our ADU ordinance is being rewritten right now so that we can make adjustments as far as providing incentives for homeowners who want to build ADUs and provide some form of secondary housing for seniors or for young people just starting out trying to find their way. Yurts and tiny houses, there's been discussion on that for years on what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable, but every housing unit needs to be supplied with either a septic system or sewer. It's just common sense that you have to have septic systems in order to deal with sewage.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, so, did you want to rebut, Hillary? Okay, 1 minute.
Thank you. I would just like to add that with regard to RV living, yurt living, and tiny house living, we have many people in this community who have full-time jobs who are living in their car. And so if what needs to be the solution is temporary housing in a way that retains humanity for the people who live in this community and want to stay in this community, I think that we need to come up with creative solutions.
You know, and I understand the need for creative solutions, but putting an RV out in the woods and pumping sewage into the ground isn't the way to do it. If we're to approach this in a practical, common sense manner, then we need to partner with nonprofits and come up with solutions. Greg Zoller has solutions. We need to partner with Greg. But RV living, again, is temporary living. It's not meant for full-time, year-round habitation.
You know, the article I quoted did have some thoughts on that, by the way, if you want to look it up. So.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Okay, now we have an audience question. Dan, you go first. How would you characterize the current state of mental health services and care in our community, and what is one surefire way to improve the situation?
You know, I honestly believe that our mental health services are very robust and far-reaching. I think that what we're trying to do is we're trying to reach a vulnerable population of individuals. One thing you can't do with mental health is you can't force people into mental health treatment. One of the problems we're having with the homeless is that there are a large percentage that have mental health illnesses. What we're trying to do at the county level is we're trying to establish what they call a navigation center where homeless people can come in during the day, get a warm meal, do laundry, take a shower, and at the same time, it's an opportunity for county staff and county mental health workers to come in and deliver the services necessary. We've got to break that cycle in mental health illness, and nutrition, exposure, and basically the feeling of helplessness all adds to mental illness. And so we have to be able to deal with that. And our mental health department, headed right now by Phoebe Bell, is doing a stellar job in trying to meet the needs and to leverage the state monies that we're receiving from the state to address the mental health issues.
Thank you. Hillary?
We need more funding, we need more help, we need more services. Many of the people in our community who are suffering from homelessness are suffering from compacted issues. Some of those issues are mental health issues. Some of those issues are issues of addiction. Some of those issues are combined. In order to make sure that we have full services for our mental health population, the people that need services, we need to make sure that we have housing first, that the people who are suffering have an element of stability, and that the people who are servicing the community suffering from mental health issues have all of the resources that they need. So currently, it's pretty underfunded, it's pretty understaffed, and we could use a lot more help.
Oh, Dan.
Just a short rebuttal. Mental health services in Nevada County are pass-through monies mandated by the state of California. We get a finite amount of money to use for mental health services here in Nevada County. Mental Health Services Act, vehicle license fees, 2011 realignment for we call it the millionaire tax. Those monies are distributed depending upon your population. We don't go out and fight for money. There is a certain process and there's a certain formula used. So to ask for more money, it would have to come from the state. And from the state is the only way, since we are the agency, we are the organization, we are the county that has to handle and administer mental health services locally.
We need someone who's going to fight for Nevada County. I'm willing to fight for Nevada County. There is funding available, and we need people who are going to be willing to look for the grants, to write the grants, to fight for the grants, and to make sure that Nevada County has the funding it needs. I'm that person.
Okay. Thank you. Alan Rickhelmy with the next media question, please. Hillary, you go first.
Hi, good evening. A county panel recently recommended Placer County as an entity to use one of its facilities to adopt out Nevada County animals. County employees would operate the McCourtney Road facility where some adoptions may occur. Understandably, this is all just a recommendation at this point. Nothing has been finalized. My question is this the right move? What would you do?
Unfortunately, at this time, this is probably going to have to be the right move because our County Board of Supervisors has a history of dereliction when it comes to many of our county services. And one of those has been, unfortunately, our animal facility. So we are now at a crossroads where our animal facility needs updating, it needs upkeep, and it might need to be completely redone. So we have the animals in our community who are going to have to be outsourced to Placer County because that's the best way to do it. The silver lining is that Placer County's facility is top of the line. They have an on-site veterinarian. And so when we think about our love for our community's animals, we're really fortunate that our neighbor is willing to step up and take the brunt of, unfortunately, this community failure. I think in the future what we need are services for Nevada County. We need people in Nevada County who are able to do the job because Nevada County has provided appropriate and adequate facilities. You know, this is near and dear to my heart. I have a cat that I've had for 7 years from Sammy's Friends. He is one of my best friends. He hangs out with me in my garden all the time. And I hope that in the future, Nevada County can have experiences similar to our families with animals. But it's going to take infrastructure and it's going to take will.
Dan?
Dereliction of duty is an awful strong term to use. I believe that animal shelter and animal control services, which are under the control of the Sheriff's Department, go and we have a 4 to 5 year contract term. It's coming up June 30th. The recommendation hasn't been made to the Board of Supervisors yet. We haven't seen any RFPs. Certainly there are issues up at the shelter that need to be addressed. I think that in the long term, the sheriff will come up with a recommendation to the board. The board makes the final decision on this, on who this contract is to be handled to. I have 2 rescue cats, Mike and Molly. Man, I spoil them. We have our son's one-eyed Dotson living at our house who was facing some issues. So I understand the need for pet adoption and what it means to people and how close animals can get to you. The Board of Supervisors has not been derelict in their duties as far as the animal shelter and the contract. The sheriff is going to bring a contract before us. We can't discuss it unless we're discussing it in open session, and for me to take a position or give you an opinion would be inappropriate and inadvisable for me at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next we have an audience question, and we begin with you, Dan. What are your solutions for attracting and retaining younger doctors especially specialists, to our community as many of our doctors are reaching retirement age or leaving the area?
Well, obviously the county and the public health department need to work in partnership with Dignity Health at Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital. I think the young doctors we're attracting right now, especially orthopedic surgeons, are top notch. My son's back there on crutches in a boot because he crushed his leg riding a dirt bike. Well, Dr. Barry, who's a young orthopedic surgeon, they call him the Humpty Dumpty doctor because he puts you back together. And I think the hospital and the medical community here is doing a great job in attracting new physicians. The Board of Supervisors obviously supports their efforts. We applaud them. We'll partner with them. And as far as any support needed by Dignity Health, the board and the county will stand behind them 100%.
Dignity Health is our largest employer in Western Nevada County. The biggest problem with attracting new doctors is particularly when they're married, because if they have a job and they are ready to come to our community, the question for their partner is whether or not they will have a job and whether or not they will thrive in this community. And currently, we do not have proper economic development to ensure that our young people and our young couples who move up here will be able to have job opportunities. We need to provide job opportunities. We need to provide economic development for our young people. That's the main tenet of my platform. That's the reason why I'm running. And so ensuring that economic opportunities are provided to our entire community, not just our doctors who move here, but to everybody who wants to live here, is essential to be able to retain our medical professionals. Currently, we have people in this community who want to live here, who want to thrive here, who are moving out of the community because they don't have the proper economic opportunities. Rural broadband is going to be essential to the economic foundation of our future. That's something that I am championing. That's something that I am very excited for, and it's something that's going to be essential to our future.
Thank you. Okay, now we have a media question for Chris Gilbert at KNCO, please.
Thank you. Good evening. I just wanted to ask, what are the most important regulations you want to see in the county's marijuana growing ordinance?
We need to ensure that our children are going to be safe. We need to make sure that when we have regulations for our community, that they are regulations that keep the community safe. We also need to ensure that we do not have regulations that provide for a criminal element coming in and dominating the future of cannabis. In Sonoma County, the regulations and the setbacks were so strict that currently the criminal element has been the feature of cannabis regulations. Small cottage industries, small farmers, young people who want to do the right thing have not been able to adhere to the regulations in Sonoma County because they didn't make sense for that community. We need a regulation and regulations that make sense for the current cannabis community, that allow our current cannabis community that wants to do the right thing to thrive, and that eliminates the criminal element. What's working is an example in Mendocino County. They have allowed for the cottage industry. They've allowed for small family farms. They've allowed for people who have been growing for a really long time to be able to be integrated into the business economy. And the criminal element has all but left. It's very easy for the sheriff to identify the good players and the bad.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, I feel that we need to use common sense, be realistic and practical. I think that's the approach that the Board of Supervisors is taking right now. We need to move outdoor cultivation out of our neighborhoods and move it out to the ag areas. We need to provide, however, in those ag areas, enough square footage, and we're looking at up to 10,000 square foot for commercial medical only. We're not looking at recreational cultivation on the commercial basis, but I think that what we're seeing, especially in District 3, and my complaints and from constituents, are people backyard growing marijuana in zones that are not zoned for it. The quality of life here is important. What attracted people here to Nevada County needs to be protected. I think that the way we're doing it, we're taking a nice, slow, calculated approach. That's the advice I've been receiving from supervisors in Mendocino, Humboldt, Calaveras County, and Lake County. They approached it too quickly. We're going to approach it one step at a time. We're going to deal with cultivation first. We're going to show people where they can grow, how much they can grow, and get them to a point of compliance that then we can take another look at the other license types.
Thank you. Okay, an audience question starting with you, Dan. How are you going to solve the homeless problem in Nevada County?
If I could solve the homeless problem in Nevada County, I would quit what I'm doing right now and contract myself out. What the county position is on homeless is it's a housing first type of approach. When we went to Petaluma and looked at the COTS facility there that's run by Mike Johnson, who was 8 years homeless himself, I was impressed by the 24/7 model and the programs they're offered there. Ultimately, I'd love to see a 24/7 model here and facility here. And the reason I say that is because if you can get people into a facility 24/7 and not have to look for them, social services and medical staff are able to administer and get them into programs and get them out of that cycle. Right now, Hospitality House, they let them in at 4 in the afternoon and they have to leave at 7 in the morning. What do they do the rest of the day? What we're looking for on the county is a navigation center, basically a daycare center where the homeless can go and again, get a warm meal, be indoors, do laundry, but at the same time, we need to get them out of that cycle of homelessness. We need to give people a purpose. And once people have a purpose, then they have a step up and they're on their way to recovery.
So the majority of people who are currently seeking hospitality houses services, they're not chronically homeless. They have full-time jobs. They're looking for places to live, and they need transitional housing because there are not enough houses available. We need to build affordable housing in our community. We need to build low-income and really low-income housing in our community. We need to use overlay zoning to make sure that we have inclusive zoning. When we build new infrastructure, when we build new places, when we have new housing, we need to ensure that everybody in our community can be integrated in those opportunities. I talked to a family living in a 2-bedroom apartment last week. There are 4 generations under one roof. 3 out of 4 of those generations work full-time. It's not convenient for them to all live together, and while they all love each other and they love the grandkids involved, what they really want is a house that's suitable for the family size and really individual housing for the individual generations. But that's not an opportunity in this community because we need to build affordable housing. That's the first step, and that's the way to mitigate our homeless problem.
And Dan, you want to rebut?
Yeah, yesterday I was renamed the chair of the Regional Housing Authority. And the Housing Authority is Nevada, Yuba, Sutter, and Colusa counties, and we deal with affordable housing. I know what it costs to build affordable housing, how difficult it is to get funding for affordable housing. Just to throw out there, oh, we need to build affordable housing, you don't understand what it takes to build affordable housing. You have to have sewer, you have to have water, you have to have services, you have to have transportation. Those are all elements, and we have to compete for those dollars. large urban areas get their funding directly from HUD. For us, we have to have tax credits. We have to have CDBG funding. We have to score in order to compete and receive that. And then we have to have builders who are willing to invest. You just can't build affordable housing anywhere. The county is extending sewer in Penn Valley and Combi. It's opening up access for us for more low-income or affordable housing, multifamily, that people will be able to move into.
The Regional Housing Authority that my opponent says that he is on the board of and the representative of Nevada County for proposed a project on Old Tunnel Road in the city of Grass Valley. That project got turned down. It was a funded project. It would have provided several homes for community members, and no one found a way to make that work. That is a failure of priorities. I would do something different.
That's the end. Thank you. Okay. Can we have a media question from Pascal, please?
Good evening. I'd like to go back to cannabis cultivation. We're not done there. County is taking a slow approach, shall we say. At the same time, on the November ballot, there might be a tax measure to tax cannabis. So in your opinion, how is it possible that 2 years after Measure W was voted down, the county, well, we don't have a permanent cultivation ordinance. There's now an EIR in the process, but at the same time, you would like to have a sales tax on cannabis products. Isn't that, how would you prioritize this?
Hillary, you're first.
So trying to tax an industry that you haven't given a clear ordinance or a gateway to regular business operations feels like putting the cart before the horse. We need to integrate our cannabis community into the greater business community of our economic fabric. This is not an emerging industry in this economy. Nevada County knows that the cannabis community has been an integral part of our economy for a number of years now. So the first thing you do is listen to your community advisory group and their recommendations, because it was a nonpartisan group. They came to a consensus on a number of issues, none of which have been implemented yet. You form an ordinance based on the infrastructure that you've already provided, all of the investment you've already made with having a community advisory group, with having a contractor to give you advice. Look at some of the things that you actually paid money for and start implementing those in order to make sure that our cannabis community can be taxed and regulated, can be integrated into the economy, can have business licenses, and can be doing business legally in our community. Then you tax them.
Dan?
Obviously, my opponent doesn't understand process and the fact that local government or any government does not move quickly. When we were asked to explore the possibility of the ordinance, there were steps that we had to take. When we're talking about the tax measure, Pasquale, we're talking about the possibility of putting a tax measure on the ballot. We aren't saying we are going to put a tax measure. We are exploring the possibility and only exploring the possibility. As far as the timeline that we're under right now, we were asked by the community, and we listened, to form a citizens advisory group. We did that. So the process of the CAG was, okay, we have to have a consultant. We have to have applications. We have to figure out how many people we're going to have on there. How many meetings are we going to have? Oh, we have to have additional meetings. And this has all taken time. But this was at the request of the community that we did this. Now, after the CAG, and the fact that the CAG couldn't come up with a consensus on a number of issues, that responsibility has fallen back to the Board of Supervisors. We take that responsibility very seriously. So it's a process. It's a long process, and we knew it wasn't going to be a short process. We knew it was going to take time. But exploring the possibility of a tax does not mean we are going to recommend a tax.
Rebuttal, Hillary?
Government representatives that do their homework and listen to their advisors can probably expedite the process.
Butterflies and rainbows. I mean, that's all I have to say. You know, those are the words I'm getting from my opponent.
Okay, so next we have an audience question. Goes to you first, Dan. Why do our public roads resemble those of Haiti? What has our road repair funds been spent on?
We receive road funds from gas tax. We do receive some state funds, and our Director of Public Works, Tricia Tillotson, is always going after grants. SB 1, which has become very unpopular, is going to provide us, we just had to downgrade our estimates down to about $800,000. We've got over 500 miles of county roads in Nevada County, and we have to prioritize where those funds are used. We have had emergencies out on Brunswick. Unfortunately, the funds to fix those repairs had to be redirected. We did apply for FEMA funds, which we did receive. You know, you look at Grass Valley, look at Nevada City. We're all struggling for funds for roads. We are a rural county. We are not a wealthy county. And you look up and down the state of California, you see road projects, and you see communities that need more funding. That's why SB 1 was passed. The county, with the funds available, is doing the best they can to meet the conditions and to repair the roads that we have in our county.
Hillary?
The County of Nevada has integrated SB 1 funding into their future budget planning. It was a part of their January meeting. So what they're counting on is SB 1 funding. Here's the thing. My candidate, my opponent, Dan Miller, has employed the same communications firm, Dauntless Communications, that is also the arm of opposing SB 1 funding and trying to repeal the gas tax. So that seems like a conflict of interest. We need to make sure that our county has appropriate funding. SB 1 is providing a lot of funding for our community, and trying to repeal that funding is not a good idea for this community. We need that funding in order to improve our roads.
We fired Dauntless, and they started their work on SB 1 after we fired them.
Hillary, you good?
Okay.
Okay. So the next question comes from the media. We were going to switch things around and begin with Pascal, who is out in the hallway. Chris, are you ready to answer a question?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Okay.
I was going to ask, this is District 3, of course, and are there any issues unique to this district? And if so, what is the most important one?
Who's next? I think it's me.
You are, Hillary. Sorry.
Okay. Specifically for District 3, we need affordable housing, we need high-speed internet, and we need jobs for young people. We need to make sure that the people who grew up here can stay here, can have jobs here, can have careers here, and can live here. We need workforce housing, we need housing for our fixed-income seniors, and we need to make sure that they have everything that they need so that we can go where we need to go. Nevada County currently needs affordable housing. We need to make sure that the people who live here can stay here. I think that's one of the most important things for District 3. District 3 has the services to provide for affordable housing, And so expanding affordable housing in District 3, whether that's in the city limits or the county limits, is essential to the survival of Western Nevada County and its future.
So the question was, what issues are unique to District 3? So unique to District 3 is the fact that they have shouldered the load as far as providing affordable housing in Nevada County. And as a District 3 representative, I'm in close contact with the city of Grass Valley. The project on Old Tunnel Road was turned down because state law required that the Regional Housing Authority have a resolution granting them the opportunity to purchase the land. The city did not pass that resolution. The city does not want to shoulder any more of the affordable housing load. That's why it's imperative that the $900,000 we have spent to extend the sewer line down Comby Road, it opens up two more recently rezoned pieces of property for multifamily housing. We can use that for affordable, or we can use it for market rate. The expanded sewer and improved sewer in Penn Valley, same thing. The Regional Housing Authority, we're on the cusp of starting the purchase process for a 35-unit low-income senior housing project. But we want to do the same thing in South County. We need to spread affordable housing out to the other areas so Grass Valley does not have to shoulder the entire load.
Thank you. Okay, next we have an audience question, beginning with you, Dan. Why are there no senior citizen community centers in our county?
Very simply, the senior centers typically would be funded by a nonprofit organization. I thought the senior center out at the fairgrounds was a perfect location, an ideal facility. It was close to transit and was used daily. The county does not view senior service centers as a core service of the county. We have no funding for it. I believe, however, that grant writing is possible. I think Sandy Jacobson and what she's been doing has been, and she's retiring, has been a monumental effort. But there is no funding for senior citizens and senior citizen centers in Nevada County. The cities don't have the funding, the county doesn't have the funding, and we have to rely on our nonprofits and grants in order to fund and locate them.
Not only do we not have a senior community center, we don't have a community center in Western Nevada County. A matter of funding is a matter of budget priorities. One of the major jobs of the Board of Supervisors is to set the budget of Nevada County. A budget is a statement of values. A budget is a statement of values. So if we need a senior center, which makes sense considering that Nevada County is one of the oldest on average populations in California and frankly the nation, then we need to find where our values lie, and we need to find where the money can be allocated. So the League of Women Voters actually did a study on parks and recreation in Nevada County. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for doing that. It was done last year. And what they found is that there is definitely a possibility to try and consolidate some of the parks and rec districts in order to ensure the greater good for the entire community. I think that we should have a senior center, but I think we should have a community center. When we talk about homelessness and we talk about day centers for homelessness, considering that the majority of people at Hospitality House right now are transitional, maybe having a community center would be a benefit to the entire community for everybody.
Thank you.
Can I rebut that, please?
Oh, yes, please. Dan, you have 1 minute.
I've sat on 16 Grass Valley budgets and 3 county budget sessions in my 27 years. And I don't know why it is that my opponent thinks that the county is flush with surplus money. We don't have surplus money. We don't have funding that is available in a bank account or a quick stop. Senior housing can be incorporated. What we're looking at right now is an incorporation. We have a study going for combining all the rec districts in western Nevada County. Now, if that is possible, then what we're going to see is an economy of scale and economy of money that we'll be able to use.
Thank you. Hillary?
I'm not saying we're flush with money. I'm saying that the way we spend our money is a statement of our values.
Thank you. Okay, so the next question is Pascal. A question from you, please, and that will be Hillary to begin.
Before I ask the question, I just checked with the elections office to get the info that Patty was asking. The ballots will be mailed on time. The printer, Martin and Chapman, today got the final ballot layout and everything is on time. So there is no delay, and as for now, the ballots will go out on the week of May 9th. Now the question.
Thank you.
Fire is, of course, wildfire, of course, is a constant concern as far as everybody goes in Nevada County, be that incorporated, unincorporated areas. Would you support a ban on all fires? And let's start with the South Yuba River Canyon. A ban on all, be that campfires, be that cooking fires, warming fires, ceremonial fires, all kinds of fires in the South Yuba River Canyon, because that is where one of the main ignition points is.
During the dry season and as directed by our firefighting community, if they see fit that that would be something that they would recommend, I would support it. Yes.
I think it's insane for someone to have any type of fire down in the South Yuba River Canyon. It just doesn't make sense. The fire services in Nevada County are all lobbying to have campfires and any type of fire in the county, in the South Yuba River Canyon, prohibited.
Thank you. Okay, Dan, starting with you, an audience question. As a candidate for supervisor, please explain your past experience in local government or equally transferable community involvement experience that makes you a better candidate than your opponent.
Wow, this is my 27th year in local government. I was 16 years on the Grass Valley City Council, 2 terms as mayor. I spent 4 years on the Grass Valley Planning Commission. I spent 4 years on the Nevada Joint Union High School District Board of Trustees and spent 2 years as their president. Now I'm in my 3rd year on the Board of Supervisors. My experience is unparalleled in this race. There is no possible way that my opponent can even approach the level of experience and knowledge that I've gained in 27 years. I've worked with the Grass Valley Chamber of Commerce. I've worked with the Grass Valley Downtown Association. My wife owned a downtown business for 27 years, so I understand what issues and challenges small business has in Nevada County. She just retired the store after 27 years, and I have no more grunt work to do. But knowledge of my community and the relationships I've established here since we moved here in 1962 are, they're qualifications that you just don't receive overnight.
I don't have a resume of jobs. I have a resume of accomplishments. I have worked tirelessly in this community to help start businesses in this community as the executive director of Sierra Commons. I have worked to incubate and mentor small business owners in this community. Some of them have gone on to be some of our cornerstone businesses in this community. Three Forks Bakery and Brewery are one of them. There are a number of Grass Valley jobs and small business owners that I have helped move into the 21st century. I know how the economy is changing, and I know how important it is to know what the next step is. I know what the next step is. I have worked with legislators for the better part of 20 years since I was a college student on several legislative issues. I am currently working with several legislators on clean water and on rural broadband, on affordable housing, and on jobs. I was in Sacramento on Monday, and I met with Mike McGuire's office, and I met with Scott Wiener's office. We talked about affordable housing. We talked about cannabis. We talked about jobs for young people. We talked about rural broadband. So there are so many things that I am currently doing that make me incredibly qualified for this position. I am the future of Nevada County. I'm offering a fresh perspective.
Dan, rebuttal?
Yeah, I'm still curious about what that fresh perspective really means. It's interesting that you should mention Scott Wiener, the senator out of San Francisco, who's actually endorsed your candidacy, and the fact that his SB 827 was just voted down by the Senate Transportation and Housing Committee, and the two leading Democratic candidates for governor both said that if that bill had ever made it past the legislature, they would veto it. It was an attempt to take away the jurisdictional authority of local cities along mass transit routes. Scott Wiener does not understand rural politics. Kevin De Leon does not understand rural politics and rural issues. I deal with them with RCRC and county supervisors up and down the state who are supervisors in rural counties.
Hillary?
Mike McGuire certainly does, and the Senate bill was given up in favor of the Assembly bill, which actually favors rural cities. So we have a lot that we can accomplish, and I'm excited for the future, and I think that we have a lot to look forward to.
Thank you. Okay, next question is a media question from Alan Rakelmi at the Union. And Hillary, you go first.
This question is again about affordable housing. How would you, as one of 5 supervisors, what specifically would you do to fix the problem of affordable housing? What actions do you take to bring it here?
I think the first thing we do is streamline and make available accessory dwelling unit building. I think one of the ways that we do that is to implement gray water systems in our community. One of the largest barriers to building accessory dwelling units in our community is putting in septic tanks. That can be really cost prohibitive to people who want to build affordable housing. I think we have to amortize the fees where we can, and that's not going to be all of them, but certainly where we can, in order to incentivize the people who want to build affordable housing. And finally, we have to follow up with the people who are building accessory dwelling units to ensure that they go to affordable housing and not to short-term vacation rentals like we're seeing in communities near and dear to our hearts like Truckee.
Yeah, what we're trying to do on the ADU ordinance, Alan, is we're trying to incentivize property owners who want to build ADUs, incentivize them by waiving county fees or deferring county fees if they're willing to offer those units to low-income individuals. We do give them the choice if they want to make them market rate. They have that privilege because it is their property, but we do incentivize if they wish and would be willing to sign on for a long-term offer to give those units only over to low-income people. The one thing about bringing affordable housing to Nevada County, and I had to deal with this issue about a month ago, is because the White House was going to slash CDBG funding, the home program, and tax credits. CDBG funding and tax credits are the two ingredients that are necessary in order to build affordable housing. I sat down with Congressman LaMalfa. We then wrote him a letter. Then we wrote him a follow-up letter. And now we just find out that an omnibus bill was passed that is funding the tax credits for affordable housing. That was a huge step, and it was a bipartisan effort. Democrats and Republicans working together.
Thank you. Okay, an audience question next, beginning with you, Dan. How do you plan to serve the people in your district who do not agree with your politics?
Well, my politics are bipartisan, and I said in my opening statement, I'm bringing that mindset to the board, and I have. It was that mindset on the city council. I don't have a problem with people who disagree with my politics, but people need to sit down and listen, and I need to sit down and listen. This isn't a political position. If you've got an issue, you are as much, you have as much right as anyone to sit down with me, call me. You have my ear. I don't like partisan politics because I don't like people chirping in my ear telling me what to do. But I do enjoy sitting down with constituents, whether they agree with my politics or not.
Part of the reason why I'm running is because I've sat in front of my supervisor a number of times, and he clearly didn't like the chirping in his ear that I had to give him. I love people, and I am ready to serve the entire community. I'm ready to listen. I have made my campaign entirely transparent. I have never told a lie about my opponent. I've never made a video that took something out of context in order to slander my opponent. I think when we go forward, it needs to be with human decency. It needs to be with kindness. And I think that throughout this entire campaign, the way that people campaign is often the way that they will lead. My opponent's history with regard to his interactions with his constituents is on video. Many people can look it up. Calling someone a communist from the dais isn't exactly kind or open or nice. I don't lead that way. I will always lead with an open mind and an open heart. I am running to represent the community of Nevada County, the community of District 3, and that's what I will continue to do in this campaign and when I'm elected.
Dan, rebuttal?
Yeah, I've been taught to respect everyone. I don't necessarily have to agree with their positions or their politics. Prior to my opponent's announcement to run for her seat, I tried three times to meet with her because I ran into her at a function at Stonehouse. 3 times I left messages, and 3 times I never heard back. I wanted to understand who Hillary Hodge was. I wanted to understand Sierra Commons. 3 times I tried to meet with her, and unfortunately I never had the opportunity.
I don't think my opponent remembers the several times that we have met.
Okay, thank you. Paul Emery from KVMR, it's your turn to answer a question, and Hillary, you go first.
Yes, I sat here right in this chair, one of these, at least 3 times since summer, I do believe, where the supervisors assured Nevada County cultivators that there would be an ordinance in effect by May. Now we find out that my goodness, we need an EIR. It's going to be put off and delayed until the fall. Two parts to my question. Why wasn't the Board of Supervisors aware of this when they made those assurances? And secondly, what kind of ordinance, interim ordinance, are we going to have between now and the fall?
So in 2016, the Nevada County Grand Jury recommended to the Board of Supervisors that they do an environmental impact report, that they look at all of the players in order to come up with correct data. They ignored that recommendation, which is why we don't have an environmental impact now. What is it going to look like? Well, that's really hard to say. So far, it looks like a lot of nothing.
Dan?
You have to have a project, and this is basic governance. You have to have a project before you can start an environmental impact report. You have to have something, you have to have direction before you can do that. The growers asked us for a May 1st date. We didn't know if that was going to be possible. The CAG process drug out longer than we expected because the members wanted extra meetings, so we had to spend extra money. We want this off our plate. Trust me, we want this off our plate. And now on May 1st, we've got to have another special meeting with the growers. It just drags it out. The county is doing all they can to expedite this. But cannabis isn't the only issue that county staff is working on. We've got a lot of other things going on. We've got issues down at Lake Wildwood. We've got issues in Cascade Shores. We've got roads. We've got social services. We've got so much going on, and cannabis isn't the only thing, and we only have so many staff, and we can't afford to hire more. So if it seems that we're dragging our feet, we're not dragging our feet. We're just trying to redirect resources to get all the business of the county done.
Hillary, rebuttal?
When you say that you have to have another meeting with the growers, I think what you mean is that you are afforded an opportunity to meet with the community again on this issue. Prop 64 passed in 2016, so there's been ample time to come up with a thoughtful direction.
Trust me, this Board of Supervisors is very thoughtful, and we have been very accommodating, and we have sat through hours of testimony, and we have listened to everyone, and we're trying to formulate an ordinance that will, number one, tell growers where they can grow, how much they can grow, and at the same time protect the safety and the health of our community.
Could you please answer the full question? The most important part of my question is, what do you propose we do in the interim between now and the time an ordinance is passed?
Is this another question? I guess this is your
It was
second.
part of my original question. I just
Okay.
didn't answer it. If
Okay.
you could.
I think what we do is take the recommendations from the CAG, take the ones that we came to full consensus on, there were several, move forward in that direction, be able to adopt an interim ordinance if that's what has to happen, that accommodates the people who have worked so hard on this issue in our community, and move forward until we can get a suitable permanent ordinance.
Paul, we have an interim ordinance in place right now.
It's not working.
We have an interim ordinance in place right now,
Okay.
Paul.
Thank you. Thank you for the answers there. Okay, we're moving on to the next audience question, and we begin with you, Dan. What suggestions do you have to keep our kids safe from gun violence?
Boy, you know, obviously this is a national issue, and it's coming down to local levels because it's at the local level where we have gun violence. I don't disagree that assault weapons need more restrictions. I can't imagine myself even wanting to have an assault weapon. Bad guys have assault weapons. The Army has assault weapons. I think that the vetting process as far as gun permits might need some strengthening, but at the same time, you have to protect the Second Amendment rights that Americans have had since the founding of our nation. It's deplorable what is going on as far as gun violence in our nation, and I can't remember a time that I've ever seen it so widespread and so brutal. And we need protections, but at the same time, we still need to protect our Second Amendment rights.
Hillary?
The Second Amendment advocates for a well-regulated militia. When you show me your well-regulated militia, I will relent on some of my positions about gun safety. So I come from a family of hunters. I am very fortunate to have grown up and lived in rural California and Northern California with people who know how to responsibly handle guns. What we know as a family is that households who have guns in them are more likely to die by them. And so it's really, really important that we follow the Brady campaign's recommendations about background checks, about ensuring that we don't have assault rifles in the household and away from people who are militarily trained. AR-57s, for example, are, those are weapons of war. All semi-automatic or automatic weapons should be out of civilian hands. And all of the people who own guns in a community should be responsible to provide background information and to be responsible to be a gun owner. So I think we can establish safety in our community by having background checks, by doing informational PSAs to make sure that the people in our community know how to handle a gun and know how to keep them safely.
Thank you. Okay, our next media question comes from Pascal. And Hillary, you answer first.
So let's talk a little bit more about the ordinance. So there's an interim ordinance in place now, as you stated, Dan, and the interim ordinance does not address anything but personal cultivation. So how is there an option? Is there within the regulations, the normal framework and staff's workload, etc., is there an option to get something in there about distribution and transportation so that it can be done safely? And also, who would enforce it?
That's Hillary goes first.
The current interim ordinance was written after Measure W failed in this community by nearly 60%. This community said no to an outdoor ban, and essentially the Board of Supervisors came back with what ultimately became sort of an outdoor ban. We have not afforded our business community, our home growers, our cottage industry, and the people in this community who want to do the right thing, the ability to do the right thing. What we need to do is ensure that the people who are ready to come out of the shadows, to have a business license, to eliminate this wild west of cannabis, to provide a safe and legal place to grow, a very specific set of regulations that allow our law enforcement to be able to weed out the bad players. All of that needs to be done, and it needs to be done right away. So the ordinance that we have, the interim ordinance that we have right now, does not address any of that, does not address the allowances that Prop 64 gave to this state that passed in this county by more than 55%. We need to do better for our community growers, and we need to do better for our economy.
The promise we made to the citizens of our county when Measure W failed was to lift the ban on outdoor cultivation. And we lifted the ban on outdoor cultivation and adopted the interim ordinance. What was distressing was the fact that we still permitted outdoor cultivation in residential areas, and we got a lot of pushback on that. If we were to adopt an interim ordinance, it would still be subject to an EIR. And that's one thing that people need to understand. If you're making a modification to an existing ordinance and you're increasing acreage or you're doing some material changes, it triggers CEQA. So an interim ordinance isn't going to do us any good right now because the time necessary to go through the CEQA process again wouldn't make any sense.
Okay, I have a follow-up there. If an EIR is triggered by any modification of the ordinance, how come there was no EIR on the interim ordinance?
The interim ordinance was a, how do I say it? It was more of an urgency ordinance that we passed, and then it transformed itself into the interim. I believe that's how it worked, but we had, oh, I'm sorry. We did have an ordinance in place prior to Measure W being failing, and all we did was go back to that previous ordinance, which didn't work, and it's not working now.
So Hillary, rebuttal.
If ever there was a need for an urgent ordinance in order to integrate our cannabis economy into the greater economy, that urgency is now.
Okay, I think we're done with that question. Okay, thank you. The next audience question is beginning with you, Dan. Do you believe prior government experience is important to be a county supervisor?
Yes, and I think we've answered that question a number of times and made statements to that fact. Local government, and especially the budgeting process in local government, can be very complicated. At the city council level, the learning curve isn't that dramatic, especially if you've had experience on planning commissions. You go into school funding, again, very complicated and entirely different than local government funding. But when you go into local government, you should know zoning. You should know setbacks. You should know social services. You should know jails. You should know policing. You should know who provides fire protection in your county. My opponent just found out recently that the county doesn't provide fire protection. It's provided by the cities and special districts. So those are all things that you have to know. If you don't know them, the learning curve is incredibly steep, and it creates a speed bump, not only for the person going into office, but it creates a speed bump for county staff trying to bring and educate an uneducated supervisor up to speed on what their responsibilities are, where those responsibilities are, and how you use those responsibilities to serve your county.
I understand fire protection in this community. I worked in social services for 7 years in Sacramento County, and I understand that too. I will be one in a very long line of supervisors whose first elected position is supervisor. One of the people that my opponent is endorsed by, Sue Hook, will also be one in a very long line of first-time supervisors. Also, I'm a very fast learner, and I think the staff is looking forward to working with me.
Thank you. Media question from Chris Gilbert at KNCO, please. And Hillary, you begin.
Well, in light of the recent Dollar General store decisions, what do you feel is appropriate commercial development for the county?
We need to build up and not out. We need to make sure that all commercial development includes a housing component because we need housing first. We also need to really think about the retail economy and where it's going. Currently, the retail economy in America is atrophying. Our two largest retail stores are going bankrupt worldwide, Kmart and JCPenney. And so what we're going to have in the next 5 or 10 years is large retail spaces that are going to be empty. When we think about retail development in this community, we need to think about where the economy is actually going. Maybe instead of retail development, we think about high-speed internet for this entire community. We think about rural broadband. We think about the gig or remote economy, and we make sure that our young people have access to jobs in the new economy so that we can thrive for the future.
Unfortunately, Amazon is killing the mom and pop stores and the brick and mortar stores in our county. Commercial development has to be centered around almost a niche markets. In light of the Dollar General, I don't see large commercial stores coming into our area. More people are going to be going down the hill. The Higgins Marketplace might offer us some opportunities, however, to develop specialty stores, stores that aren't affected by Amazon. Obviously, my wife and I experienced that and what it created in our store. We closed Future Generations because we were tired. My wife was tired of dealing with people who would come in and shop her store and then go home and order it online. What we're looking as far as commercial development, we're looking in areas that are zoned properly. Certainly the Dollar General issue was an emotional one, but at the same time we're looking at commercial development that's going to create almost entry-level jobs, but we're not looking at commercial development on the size and magnitude of your Walmarts or your Best Buys.
Hillary, rebuttal.
Main Street USA can thrive. It can thrive in our community. It can thrive in Grass Valley. It can thrive in District 3. What we need is to diversify our economy. We need to invest in local talent. The local businesses that exist here now need a little bit of a leg up. They need to be able to enter the online economy, and they need to have rural broadband to do that. So if you take a Main Street USA store and you allow it to thrive in the online economy, diversify its income, and make sure that it can be solvent in any sort of economic future, then you have a Main Street and a Mill Street, frankly, that is going to be viable for the near and far future.
Obviously, my opponent has never owned a small business on Mill Street in Grass Valley. My sister owns Ashley Furniture in downtown Grass Valley, and it has taken her years to reestablish that business after they had to close Hedman Furniture during the recession. Now she's back to a level of sales that she enjoyed prior to the recession. But it takes work. It takes hard work. She has high-speed internet. My wife had high-speed internet. It's not the solve-all for Main Street like my uninformed opponent seems to think it is.
Okay, please keep your comments to yourself. Okay. One more audience question, then we'll have one more question from Alan, and then we'll do our your closing statements. Okay. Now that the State House has approved H.R. 620, ADA Education and Reform Act, what specifically would you do to protect access and defend the rights of people with disabilities if it passes? That's to you, Dan.
Yep. Boy. My sister was injured in an auto accident when she was 16 years old. She broke her neck. She's been a quadriplegic ever since. You know, it was hard. It was hard on our family. My sister finished her high school education. She was a great athlete. She went to San Diego State, got her degree in accounting. She got her further degree as a CPA. She now works for the state of California in Sacramento. She heads up the department in her Rancho Cordova office. I understand the need for people with disabilities to get an education. They need as much possible help, and they need bipartisan help wherever possible. Just because you're disabled doesn't mean you're incapable. And my sister was not incapable, and she owns her own home. She's fully independent. I don't like the way she drives, but she's got her education, and I believe it's our responsibility to make sure that handicapped and disabled people have access to everything available.
Thank you. Hillary?
So there are a number of grants and opportunities that we can fight for. There's funding that is available along with this bill that's about to pass. It's very exciting for the people in our community who are differently abled. And what we need to do as Nevada County supervisors is make sure that we fight for the funding that Nevada County deserves. And I would do that.
Thank you. Okay, Alan Ricalmi from the union. You please ask a question, then Hillary, you answer first.
Going back to road conditions, I'm curious, is there a contingency in place if the gas tax is repealed in November? What happens then? How do you maintain the roads if you are depending on that 12-cent gas tax?
Based on the meeting that I was at in January, I don't believe that there is a contingency plan. Maybe my opponent will inform me otherwise. You know, I think there are going to have to be some hard sells on infrastructure. I think that we are going to have to get creative. We do have crumbling infrastructure in our community. Anybody who's ever driven out to North San Juan on a regular basis knows that the roads just past the 49er Bridge constantly fall into the river. So we need to be very clear about the insurance of our community to travel safely, and I think that's really, really important. I hope that the gas tax doesn't get repealed because I think we need it for funding in order to ensure community safety on our roads.
Yeah, what would happen is our Department of Public Works Director, she is putting contingency plans in place. Obviously, we're going to have to pull back some projects, defer maintenance. Instead of full overlays, we probably have to go to slurry seals and reevaluate where our priorities are. However, we are working with Kim Dolbo-Van, who is the state director for the United States Department of Agriculture Rural Development. And Kim was a county supervisor in Colusa for 11 years before she was appointed to this new position. And we met with Kim, and Kim says, I've got billions of dollars available for rural infrastructure, for counties and cities. We are the hidden gem in the Farm Bill. Talk to me. So what Allison Lehman, our assistant CEO, and Public Works has done is we have created a laundry list of projects. We are submitting those projects for this USDA Rural Development Fund to go after infrastructure. We're submitting them to Kim. We are going to go down and meet with Kim, and hopefully we'll be able to tap into the money that she has in that fund.
Thank you. Okay, now it's time for closing statements. You each have 2 minutes, and Hillary, you go first with closing.
I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. My name is Hillary Hodge, and I'm your candidate for District 3 Supervisor in Nevada County. I love this community. When I moved here almost a decade ago, I fell in love immediately. I knew that this was my home, and I loved it so much that I convinced my mother to move up here and live with us. And she loves it here too. Nevada County is a really, really special place to live, and I want to make sure that the young people in this community are able to thrive, that the old people in this community are able to live here for the rest of their days. We have so many challenges facing our community in the next few years. I've spent my entire adult life providing opportunities for the communities that I have lived in. First, it started with my first career out of college as a social worker in Sacramento, providing opportunities to low-income families in Sacramento County. Here in Nevada County, I have been a startup business advisor. I have worked with small businesses in this community. I have helped them to navigate a changing economy. I have helped them to thrive in a small town where there aren't a lot of opportunities available and where it seems impossible to do business at times. But it is not impossible to do business here, and it is not impossible to see a future here. That's the message that I am providing for all of our community today. We need to have affordable housing for our future, for our workforce, for our fixed income seniors. We need to have high-speed internet so that we have the same opportunities as our rural and suburban our urban and suburban counterparts. And we need to make sure that we have jobs for the future, that people can thrive here, and that we are creative in our opportunities. I am going to fight for Nevada County with all of the knowledge I have behind me. Thank you. Please vote for Hillary Hodge, District 3.
Thank you, Dan.
So thank you, League of Women Voters, for your time and the efforts that you put into this forum. I'm Dan Miller, and my reelection doesn't revolve around one issue. It revolves around making informed, realistic, and practical decisions. Decisions that come from knowledge learned over 27 years in local government. Decisions based on my understanding of this community. Working with local community leaders, local nonprofits, and local businesses. My opponent says her work experience in Sacramento qualifies her for this position, but how do you get to know Nevada County and the daily challenges our county faces working in Sacramento? Holding fundraisers in San Francisco and Sacramento don't contribute to addressing the problems that rural counties deal with. Endorsements from San Francisco and Los Angeles state legislators don't translate into state monies being funneled into Nevada County to deal with our homeless, support our efforts to build affordable housing or create jobs. Frankly, trying to bring the influence of urban politicians into our local election process only muddies the waters and creates more partisan political walls. As a supervisor, you have to be accurate and always aware of what you say to the public. My opponent in a previous forum stated that Measure E, the Grass Valley tax measure, was a way to balance the city's budget. Completely false and potentially disastrous to the city. But the public didn't know the statement was wrong. Measure E will create more funding for police, fire, roads, and parks. Placed in a restricted fund with a citizen oversight committee, those funds can only be used for Measure E's stated purpose. Lack of knowledge is something you can't overlook and explain away, and the public deserves a supervisor who shares information accurately. My reelection revolves around the people of Nevada County. I'm Dan Miller, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you, candidates, for participating in a spirited forum tonight. And thank you, UBNet, KNCO, the Union, and KVMR for participating in our League of Women Voters Forum tonight as well. And thank you, audience, for your excellent questions and courtesy. And just a reminder, next Thursday is our forum for Nevada County Sheriff. So thank you again.